And we're on Piglet watch. She should have farrow by Wednesday. Today's Monday, so within the next 2 days. She's pretty miserable at this point. It has been extremely hot and humid here. I mean, we've had temps up in the mid 90s with daggone near matching humidity. And today we got the Canadian wildfire smoke again, so it's been pretty rough out here. Not as hot, but definitely just as humid. I've been dumping the water to her. She's got a new waterer out here, a new 100-gallon water. I've been keeping full and fresh. Plenty of feed for her, and I've been keeping her water fresh as well. I stood out here 2 days ago and dumped about 50 gallons of water on her through the hose just to keep her cool because it was just so miserable hot. Even though she had access to shade in the waller, she was just miserable laying in a mud hole. So I turned her mud hole into a swimming pool for her, and she seemed to like that pretty well. She's got good milk lines on her teats and everything like that. She's not expressing any milk yet, but we would expect to see that probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then by Wednesday. So we're keeping close watch on her because we're expecting her to farrow very soon. And she's already nested out over there, and I'll throw a couple more hay bales over there just off to the side to kind of block that and give her a little bit of privacy. I added another 100 foot of hose out through here to make sure I can reach out to her and make sure she's got plenty of water, and the piglets will have plenty of water. The other pigs are doing fine. They've been cooperating finally. So Peppa here laying in the mud and Pee-wee seem to be cohabitating pretty well at this point. And it looks like we may get a storm, which I would not complain about at this point because we are way behind in our rain this year. So yeah, they've been doing fine. Oh yeah, thunder, storm coming in. Us on the other hand, now it's been a different story for us. So I don't know what got a hold of me for the last week. I've had this this upper respiratory sinus cough, terrible freaking headache type of thing going on for a week. It's finally starting to let up, and now the wife's getting it. She's almost completely lost her voice at this point. We were digging the electric trench down to the wellhead from the building. We got about a quarter of the way down and blew a hydraulic hose on a tractor, and everywhere was closed. We didn't have time. Well, it wasn't closed, but we didn't have time to get the hose off, get there, get a new one made before they closed. So we were put down a day. And then, of course, not 20 minutes after we blew the hose, I'll set you down here for a minute. Not 20 minutes after we blew the hose, my wife yells from the basement. She comes around outside. Our septic system backed up. Now, this septic system we've had in since we built the house 10 years ago. We've never had to drain it because it's an aerator system, and we've never had any issues with it. And we've been discussing that, yeah, we probably should just go ahead and preemptively get it drained. That way we don't have any issues. And next thing you know, it snuck up on us. So we had that mess to clean up. Thank the good Lord for good people and good company still in business. I made just an offhand, spur of the moment call to a company 2 counties over, and the guy said, hey, I'm just leaving a job right now. He said, I got a full tank. He said, I'm gonna have to go put it in a holding tank. He said, but I'll go put it in a holding tank and I'll come right over and get yours pumped out tonight. So at 8 o'clock at night, they're here pumping out our septic tank, and I could not, you know what? Well, they charged us $600 to pump it out. It's a 1,000-gallon tank. I didn't complain a bit. 8 o'clock at night, they're there pumping it out for us. And then came the task of getting the line unplugged because the line had plugged up. And so I spent until 11:30 trying to get the line unplugged. I couldn't do it. So I just took the next day off work. Of course, I had to because our basement was full of crap. Well, at least one whole section of it. And we were able to get it cleaned up and everything. And then the next day I had to go to Lowe's, get a longer snake that would fit, that would actually do the work that I needed it to do because I didn't have an appropriate size snake. And yeah, don't go anywhere with that one. So I had to go to Lowe's. I was up there at 7 o'clock in the morning, got the snake that I needed, and worked for about 3 hours to finally get the plug undone and get everything flowing like it should be. So we had that to contend with. Last night, we were able to finally get all of the electric hooked up, the new panel put in the building, get the electric hooked from the house to the panel, from the panel in the building to the wellhead, and from the panel in the building down to where the high tunnel is going to be. We were finally able to get all that done, and it's been one thing after another here. I mean, if it hasn't been the weather just being absolutely ridiculously hot and humid and miserable with now a storm coming in, if you haven't heard that in the background there, wife come up and said, "Hey, you've been dissing us. We're not going to forget about you." So they jumped up and jumped right on top of us. So we took care of it, though. I mean, you got to face it head on. Unfortunately, the unexpected comes when you're least expecting it. So yeah, that's a good storm coming across the mountain back in there. Probably harder for you guys to see through the trees, but I see that gray coming out here. And of course, a lot of that is the smoke from the Canadian wildfires. I thought maybe, hopefully, that would have been over with till I got up this morning and walked outside. I was like, wait a minute, it's not that foggy. What the heck's going on? So we've got terrible air quality today, so it's not going to get much better unless this storm comes and just blows everything out. So I'm going to get away from trees because that's some pretty good rain. All right. So prequel to the storm here, I'll show you all of this part here. This is sunflowers. There are Tramoncino squash. There's all kinds of squash, zucchini, and pumpkins and stuff growing in here. This is all growing like mad. We've had an adequate amount of rain, but we're still way below what we should have by this time of year. But the heat and everything has really been pushing this stuff up, so it's been really great. And our peaches are just mad. Actually broke a limb. So we've got a ton of peaches on this tree here. But the weight of them, even though they weren't ripe enough to pick, it broke the limb right there, so we'll have to prune this one way back, and I hate to do that, but plenty of peaches on this year, and they are so sweet. I'm telling you, it's just ridiculous how sweet these things are. And on top of that, the berries. Not been eating so daggone many berries here recently. It's a wonder my teeth ain't stained. So of all the eggs that the two broody hens set on, only 2 of them hatched out. We've hatched out several out of our incubators, and we're getting ready to be moving them out here to the other coop here where the other birds are. So these are the Delaware broilers and the dark Cornish that we recently hatched out. So they're big enough now. I got a new door for them. I'm going to put the new automatic door on. Zoom out here. So that way they can get out there on a run here real soon. And then I'm going to bring the other birds out, the Niederrheiners and the other Delaware broilers and the American breasts that we've hatched out here real soon. I'm going to bring them out and just kind of incorporate them with these guys. And we'll raise all them together. That way they're all acquainted with each other and everything like that. So it won't be a big deal moving them from one place to another. They're all kind of used to each other and stuff like that. They'll teach each other to be chickens. These guys are still feed inefficient as ever. I can't. It just stuns me how much food these guys go through. And you see that they've got a nice big area here fenced in with grass and everything else. And they still, even foraging, they are eating a ton of food. And I mean, it's phenomenal amount of protein content for them, including a good layer base as well, 16% layer base. Plus an all flock and 18% game bird feeder, plus some black oil sunflower seeds, some cow peas or field peas, and a couple other things in there to kind of help increase the nutrition. These guys just eat the hell out of it. I've not seen a chicken eat as much as these guys do in a short period of time, aside from the Cornish cross. And the blackberries. Oh boy. Ouch. Blackberries all over the place. They're so sweet. So blackberries, peaches, and gardens. All right, so lots of onions in a raised bed. We got some cabbage over here. This is gigantic cabbage. This is that behemoth stuff, and we're growing 2 of them for my boy. There's a contest out there for a scholarship, so we're seeing how big we can get them. And this is a row crop cover. There's some red onions planted in there as well. So trellised up beans. They're coming on really good. Got some rosemary in there with them. Got some cabbage over here on this side with them. Oh, there we go. So beans are coming on great. Look at all these buds. So lots of good stuff with the beans. Some surplus tomato plants that we got planted in here. There's some marigolds in there. There's some leaf lettuce planted in there. These are cucumbers, and we've had a ton of cucumbers come on. Emily, matter of fact, she just picked a bunch of them yesterday evening, and we've still got them coming on. I think these are the munchers or the crunchers. I can't remember what they're called. I think she's got a couple different kind in here, but they, oh my goodness, they're so good. So they're trellising up both sides. Over here is all tomatoes. You can see this is a forest of tomatoes over here. So they're actually pushing out against the netting. We got some oregano growing in here, some basil growing over there, some chives right here. And we've just got a forest of tomatoes in here. And she spaced them out good. Don't think that these are planted all too close, because she really did space them out good, more so than she did last year. And we had a bumper crop last year. But there's lots of tomatoes coming on in there. None of them are red yet, but there's a bunch of tomatoes coming on. A bunch of different varieties in here. And she did, of course, now we're going to have to figure out something a little better next year, and I think I got it figured out. We ran some old clothesline in between the two uprights here, or the two boards, and tied some rubber or some cotton rope to it so they could trail us up. And she twisted it around them, and it's it's got it pulled down. As you can see how low it is. It's actually even clear up to here. So I'm going to run a couple boards or some 2x2s across, almost like a furring type of thing, to tie to next year. All right, comfrey has just exploded. So we've got a ton of comfrey. It's all bloomed out. The bees are loving this. These are sunflower seeds. That's horseradish. Here's our peppers. Several of the Hungarian wax peppers. They're coming on really good. Emily ordered some stakes here, some like bamboo stakes to kind of even tie the peppers up because they're doing so good. We got some jalapenos going on. And I got my devil peppers over here. That's what she calls them. And I can't remember what ones we got this year, but I do like to get a couple really good hot peppers. So Scorpion Butch, those are the peppers that we grew, and they're over here somewhere, but they haven't started. They start a little later in the season. They're hot. I think they're 1.5 million Scoville units, Em. They're 1.5 million Scoville units. They're really good. All right, extra stone we had laying around here for landscaping and stuff like that. Emily built another bed for, and we've got some other pepper plants in here. We've got some bee balm in here for the pollinators. We've got some stevia coming in that we planted, because if you've not had a stevia leaf, like plain stevia, not the chemically extracted, completely different flavor, so much better. And this is pretty dry, and we would water this tonight if it wasn't for the storm coming, but everything else seems to be doing pretty good in here. So up on the porch, out on the deck there, we got a bunch of herbs and stuff like that. We've got horehound lemon balm, several different kinds of mint. We've even got that chocolate mint. That stuff's really good. Lemon balm, horehound. There's a Vicks plant, a couple extra surplus tomato plants. There's a lime tree, a lemon tree, and what else? Olive tree. Yeah, there's an olive tree. Hey, why not? So we're just growing a little bit of everything this year. We're going to try it out anyways, because we know once we get the high tunnel this year, by the time we get through the steps, get everything done, and it's just a good indicator of how things happen is, of course, how things happened here. Said we finally got all this finished last night and got everything down here to the, where's my finger? There it is. Down to the wellhead here. It's all done now. We just got to wait for them to come and put the pump in and put the pressure tank in, and I just got to flip a switch and then cover the trenches up. So with all of that going on, we've already got pretty much the corners measured out and everything like that. We know where the high tunnel is going to set, how it's going to set, orientation wise. Of course, you want an east to west orientation. That way it gets full day sun all the way across it. You don't want a north to south orientation. So, well, each end, one end faces north, one end faces south, and you get that whole east to west across the whole length of it that way. So that way it gets full day sun. And it's just a matter of one step after another. We got to wait on the water for them to get the pump and the pressure tank in. We'll get the water sample. We'll send it to Penn State, wait on those results. In the meantime, I'll get the soil sample sent to WVU to get that done. And then once everything's done and finalized with the well and they certify it, they'll put the money in our account. We'll turn right around and order the high tunnel. So it is a process, unfortunately. And of course, it's a government agency involved in it with a bunch of bureaucrats. That's just how they do things. But hey, they are good programs, and we're going to do what we can, because man, we got to secure that food. We got to secure that safety, that better quality, that more nutritious food, and the ability to grow it and continue to grow it. So with everything going on right now, having a way to replenish all of your supplies and stuff like that, of course, is a plus. And having the high tunnel greenhouse will allow us to extend our growing season later in the year and start a lot earlier in the year. And there was a couple of the YouTube channels that I subscribed to that were talking about that today. One in particular was being able to replenish your stores if you're any bit of a the common term prepper, but someone who practices emergency preparedness. If you're even into that, and you can have up to a year excuse me, of food stores, sorry, if that continues, and once that year's up, you don't have a way to replenish those food stores, you're just going to be just another hungry person running around. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. One of the many reasons of why we're doing what we're doing, and we're definitely looking forward to it. So, all right, and like I said before, this thing equals one bit of freedom for us, a big bit. So this is direct bury line. It's 12-2 direct bury electric line, perfectly fine for what we're going to do. This well is 220 feet deep, $17 a foot, and then they add on the casing, and then of course the perforated pipe that goes down, and then you got your blocker up here at the top, which is a bigger, I think it's an 8-inch. So you got your casing that goes down with perforations that allows the water to seep in without all of your sediment and stuff like that. And then 220 feet, they'll set the pump at 210 feet, and that'll give us about, I think if I remember right, they want to set it 10 feet off the ground. So we'll have about a 260 gallon reservoir in the bottom of the well of water to draw from. Plus the in well pressure tank it's a 10 gallon pressure tank. The benefits of that is that you don't have to worry about it freezing. They tend to last fine. There's usually no issues with it. Switches on all of the pressure tanks, of course, are going to wear out pretty quickly. But the fact that it's a 10 gallon capacity pressure tank, it just means that the pump itself is going to cycle more. I'm not worried about that either. I mean, it's the benefits of it versus running water line from here up to a pressure tank. If I put it up in the building, then I have to be able to protect that pressure tank from freezing in the winter, and then you have to run water back down and wherever else you need to go. I just opted for the in-tank pressure tank. So, of course, everything is pending the water quality tests. When we get those back, then we know what steps we can take. And once they certify it and they're done with it, then I can go ahead and start making plans, or at least putting my pennies aside for next year, so we can get a good filtration system set up in the house and make this our primary source of water. The big test is going to be through the year here, of course, to make sure that it does produce like we want to, and we do have a decent amount of water. All right, rain's coming down. I'm getting off of here. Sorry for the lag in getting some videos out. I'll keep you guys updated as much as I can, but life happens, man, and it smacked me. So in the meantime, as always, stay prepared, stay free. God bless y'all.